Hey guys, my name is Brian Skinny from secretsofsushi.com, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make butterfly shrimp and Ebi Nigiri. To start off, we have a bowl of brown shrimp caught in the Gulf of Mexico, and we've also got a couple of bamboo skewers. Now, pro tip, it's best suited if the bamboo skewers have been soaking in some water. This really helps make removing the skewers after we boil the shrimp a lot easier. So just soak them in water for maybe 5 minutes or so. And what we want to do is we want to insert the skewer in what's called the vein of the shrimp. Now, if you look at the front of the shrimp, you'll see a little spot here. This is more or less the digestive tract of the shrimp, and if you push the skewer in through the vein, you'll meet very little resistance when skewering the shrimp. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the legs of the shrimp are facing down towards our fingers, and we want to use your thumb on the top of the spine to push it down to straighten the shrimp out. Once the shrimp is straight, you can insert the skewer into the vein using a slight twisting motion anytime you meet a little bit of resistance, and it should come right out the very tip of the tail, like so. Once the shrimp has been skewered straight, you can set it aside and continue to skewer the rest of the shrimp. Now that all of our shrimp have been skewered, it's time to boil. Add our shrimp to the water and let it boil for about 5 minutes. Alright, after about 5 minutes, you'll notice that the shrimp are all kind of starting to float, and there's a noticeable color change in them. And we're going to go ahead and remove those with a pair of tongs and place them into an ice bath. And an ice bath is simply a bowl of water with a few ice cubes placed into it. And this is so that we can bring the temperature of the shrimp down to a level that's manageable for us to handle, and also to stop the cooking process. And we'll let those sit inside there for maybe another 3 or 4 minutes. Alright, now that our shrimp has been cooling in our ice bath, we can take them out. And what we want to do is twist the skewers while holding the shrimp in one hand. Twist the skewers to remove them. And we can simply throw the skewers away. Okay, and as you can see, we have straight boiled shrimp. Now we want to peel the shrimp, and the easiest way that I've found to do this is to hold it in one hand and use your fingers to start at the legs and peel around the back. And in many sushi bars, they choose to leave the tail portion on for the guest to remove as they're eating it. So go ahead and remove the shell from the rest of the shrimp. The next thing we want to do is to grab our knife and grab one of the shrimps, and we're going to clean up the area towards the head of the shrimp. So you want to lay it on the cutting board, and right here you'll notice there's a little bit of a curve in, or curve out rather, and we want to just cut that to where it's flat. On many of the shrimp there won't be much difference on them, but in case there are, you can go ahead and cut that part off, and that helps make the shrimp a little bit cleaner. Fortunately, these shrimp look pretty good, actually. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is lay the shrimp to where the belly side is up, and you'll notice a little line running along the belly of the shrimp. And what we want to do is to gently place the knife onto that line and make a small cut down. And once I get past about halfway on the shrimp, instead of slicing Instead of using a slicing motion, I like to just press down with the knife. And that helps me make sure that I'm not cutting through the very last portion of the shrimp, the top of the skin. Because we want to make sure that we leave that part intact in order to make the Ebi Nigiri. So that's how you make the piece of butterfly shrimp. Slice down until you hit what's essentially the vein, or where the skewer used to be. And you can open it up. If there's anything inside of here, I highly recommend cleaning it out because it's essentially fish poop. So you can set that aside and continue the slicing process with the rest of the shrimp. It's very important that when you are making the initial slice on the belly of the shrimp, that you are very, very careful. The purpose here is not really to slice the shrimp so much as it is to just get the knife in place to press down. Once all of your shrimp have been cut, you can go ahead and rinse out a lot of that fish poop on the inside. Alright, now that we have our ebi sliced and cleaned, I've laid them all out here in front of me, and I've patted them dry with a paper towel. It's important to make sure they don't have too much water underneath, otherwise they're going to make the rice fall apart whenever we make the nigiri. And what we're going to do now is use a little bit of rice, and also note that I've got a bowl of water here. You may not be able to see, it might be off camera. There it is. So you want to get your hands slightly wet. And you want to get a small amount of sushi rice. And you want to form it around in your hand. And you'll know that you have the right amount of rice whenever you can close your hand and not see any rice on the inside. Next, you're going to pick up a piece of ebi and place it in your left hand. You're going to place the ball of rice in the right hand. And I should note that traditionally, sushi chefs would use a bit of wasabi and they would smear it on the inside of the piece of fish, which they call the neta, or in our case, the piece of ebi. But I'm not going to be doing that today because in Western culture, the use of wasabi in a piece of nigiri is not common practice. But in Japan, every piece of nigiri is going to have a smear of wasabi on the inside. So anyway, you're going to place the ball of rice on the neta. You're going to use your fingers to hold the ball of rice in place and use your thumb to gently press a little pocket in. This pocket of air is said to be essential for making nigiri, and it's supposed to make the flavors lighter and more delicate. So what you do is you flip it over, and you're going to use your middle finger and your thumb, and you're going to press the piece of ebi down on the rice and tuck the rice in. And then you're going to make a U shape with your hand. You're going to tuck your thumb in the front and use your index finger and your middle finger and place it on top and gently press down. Then you're going to pick up the piece of nigiri and rotate it 180 degrees. Again, put your thumb underneath, make the U shape with your hand, and press again. You're going to repeat those steps a few times. And if you want to, you can even repeat this step again. Now, if you've done the steps correctly, you should be able to take your piece of nigiri and flip it over, and the piece of neta should not separate from the ball of rice. And if you'll notice on the bottom, you can very faintly make out the pocket of air that we created as one of the first steps. And the piece of nigiri should also not roll around the plate or the cutting board too much. Now after you've made your piece of nigiri, you can test to see if you've shaped the rice ball correctly by peeling off the piece of fish, the neta. And what you should see is the bottom shape should be about the shape of a boat. So it should be angled in on both sides and flat on the bottom. And again, the neta should not fall off the ball of rice. Thank you guys for watching this video. For more videos on how to make sushi at home, be sure to click on the subscribe button below or visit my website by clicking the link in the description box below. My name is Brian Skinner from secretsofsushi.com, and that's how I roll. Okay, something I forgot to mention during the video is that it doesn't really matter how many times you do the two important steps in making the nigiri, which is doing the press and doing the round, so long as the end result is the same. So a lot of times chefs like to put the ball of rice on the piece of neta, flip it over, and do press, press, round, rotate, press, press, round, rotate, or round, press, rotate. You get the idea. But to keep everything in context, they say that a good sushi chef can make a piece of nigiri in 6 seconds. And that's starting from picking up the neta, forming the ball of rice, the smear of wasabi onto the neta, putting the bowl of rice on there, pressing the in to make the air pocket, flipping it over, press, press, round, rotate, press, press, round, rotate on the plate, 6 seconds. I mean, it took me longer than 6 seconds to explain that to you. But like with any type of cooking, whether you're making sushi, you're in the kitchen, or you're flipping burgers, you practice your technique first, then work on your speed. Okay, I'm done. Have fun.